I'm going to record this. So today, George Mendoza and I are going to present a case study, and we're going to stop at various points and ask you all for your professional advice in coaching, in assessment, in consulting, in marketing. Tom. So, uh, if that's okay, what I'd like to propose to do, and this is Growth OD, if you don't know, and I am recording along with five other people. So that's all good. We need the exposure. Um, so this is going to be about the arts and how to take a new turn with the arts and how to coach people that are doing arts business, how to consult with them, how to do the marketing, and I think all the assessments that you have, you know, with Boje Days here today, in particular. So we'll be able to talk about David Boje and George Mendoza and their partnership, and Grace Ann Rosille, who will be reviewing every nickel and dime of the finances here, by the way. And I didn't tell you that, George. So, yeah. So she's got a banker's heart. Hi, Paul. Paul, we're recording. We're going to be doing some art things today. So, what I like to do is show you a few slides, then get your input. We can go to breakouts for that. We can do it together. We can go back and forth. Does that seem like an okay plan to everybody? And what I'd like to do is, take some notes. Don't put them in the chat because everything in the chat gets read out with George's machine. He's got a brand new computer, and he's ready to show it off, All right. So with not further ado, I'm going to bring up the slides. Let's see. And this is, oh, that's application Windows. That's PowerPoint. I think this is the correct one. We'll try it.
DR. David has started screen sharing. Double dash click to enter full screen mode. Viewing DR. David's screen.
Wow. Okay.
DR. David has started screen.
I did start screen sharing. Thank you, virtual reality person. So what you see here is Colors of the Wind, which is one of many of George's books. I think there'll also be a role in this for Journey of the Spirit Man, which is more of an adult treatment. Colors of the Wind, I'm going to call that more of a family treatment. So here's the proposal. We've met with the people at the Mesilla Valley Mall in Las Cruces. There is a old fourplex theater there, 10,000 square feet, and they are interested in George and I working with them to have it renovated by a construction company. There's no seats in the theater. The electric has to be redone. The plumbing, so we haven't got the estimate for that, but I do have all the other financials for you to look at today. So if you look in the lower right, that is an image from Meow Wolf, who has exhibits across the United States or entertainment centers that is immersive art. So you go in there, it's immersive. So everything you see there is not a real person with a guitar. That's a projected image, and it's actually a white wall, matte white finish, but it's projected from very expensive, high intensity focused lenses on these projectors. There'd be 5, 6, 10 of them positioned around the room, projecting the images, and then a really whiz-bang computer, almost at the quantum level, is managing these images, because images takes a lot of horsepower in a computer. Okay, so what we're proposing is to bring that to Las Cruces. It's a $4.6 billion market a year in annual sales in this industry. They're in Las Vegas. I believe they're in LA, but they're certainly in Santa Fe. So this is 10,000 square feet that I'm going to show you that we want to do. The one in Santa Fe is more than double that and gets over 1 million visitors a year. The one in Las Vegas is 100,000 square feet. So it's like 10 times the size of what we're proposing. It's more like a huge theme park with multiple things. Meow Wolf is their flagship show. So the one in Las Vegas would have multiple shows. The flagship is interactive entertainment where you um, and I'll explain that a little bit. So let's take another slide here. So I think it's relevant to all the pillars of growth OD, but I pulled out PerView because it's an immersive experience project with myself and George. It's a conceptual guide to a practical blueprint for integrating mindfulness, storytelling, and quantum dynamics, quantum physics into interactive art environments. I think Glow fits in this quite well. I also think Seam. We're going to need working conditions, work organizations, strategic implementation, training, the whole gamut. And I think Vuja Day, axiology, et cetera, could be used to assess like consumers before and after the event. What kinds of consumers like this, don't like it? Um, Does it more appeal to families? Does it more appeal to couples? Does it have a youth market, et cetera, et cetera? So that's some of it. Now, this is what I'm known for is the Tamara, what I call Tamaraland, like Disneyland, because it was actually from a study of Disney they did way back when. And the idea is the audience comes in the venue, in this case, the fourplex and the lobby, and it also has a loft area, so an upper floor. And you decide what room you want to go to. So if you imagine people coming into the Mesilla Mall, they pay between $16 and $32 is the market prices and per person. And they spend 1 to 3 hours going to the rooms. And it's a mystery where they work out clues. They share information. They go between rooms. They try to keep notes. They also have an interactive board. Yeah, they have an interactive board when customers leave. So I call this the Tamaraland, which was based on John Krisnak's longest running play in Los Angeles, but also in Canada, and it went on the road around the country, both countries. Uh, and so what Meow Wolf has done is taking one of those ideas of moving from room to room and an audience that splits up. So you don't sit in your chairs. You're always standing, moving. I mean, you can take a break at the cafes out in the mall, come back in. That's allowed, but and you can talk and share with each other, but you're moving. You're moving from room to room. There's action going on in each room. So it's not like you're and the Mesilla Valley Mall does not want us to compete with them by having another theater. So it's not even going to be called a theater. It's an immersive experience, right? Um, it's the number of pathways. If we just have four, it's 4 times 3, 12, I think 24 or something like that between the four rooms. But if you say subdivide some of those leave one bigger and subdivide the other ones, you could get 18 or 20 different smaller rooms in that venue. So it's 10,000 square feet to work with. So PerView itself has processes, embodiments, restoring, vibrations, energy, waves of quantum vibration. The reason that's important because this is all about a quantum storytelling. And that's the subject of our annual conference in December, which will be in Los Angeles this year. And that quantumness means you can have multiple storylines going on at the same time. You have a non-linear thing. In other words, the audience is not all moving together in one beginning and a middle and an end, and they are putting together their own story, right? By the choices they make of the pathways in the fourplex, for example. So basic model four and a loft, so that's five, or subdivide a few more, and you could get 10 to 20 perhaps, depending on how you subdivide it. So that's pathways, and people are going to go on different pathways, and the factorial for that is if you had 10 rooms, that's the number of pathways is 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5, 4 times 3 times 2, and that's huge. It's like, I believe it's 1.6 million, something on that order. So in other words, it's impossible for you to come out with people going to different rooms and different. You're not going to be able to explore the whole thing in an hour because it's complex. And you come back for multiple visits, and that's it. So just a little bit more, and then I'm going to stop and ask you questions. So I show the Tamara up in the upper right. I show George's art in the right-hand side. George's art would be what's projected on the wall. George's books would be the theme, going through. And he's got Colors of the Wind, and a lot of you know that story of how he was inspired by somebody who spoke to him. Do you want to say something, George, about the Colors of the Wind incident, or you want them to pay the $32 and buy a ticket?
No, when I was going blind at 15 and Debbie was 9 years old, and she had never seen the color green or a tree or a Ferris wheel. And she asked me, what color is the wind? And that started the whole thing, trying to answer that one question in all my books and paintings. So, yeah.
So, and George has kaleidoscopic vision that
Right.
will be featured. So, a lot of the images, like in the lower right, very kaleidoscopic images, but we'll also be able to put large figures like in the lower left and have those projected, and the mouths will move, the eyes will blink, the heads will, these will be larger than life figures, but you can also have realistic images if you want.
Right.
Las Santa Fe has a kind of family orientation storyline, so I think Colors of the Wind is kind of like that. But
Yes.
the other books, George is like, he writes some really weird stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
Stephen King would blush at these stories. He would like, oh God, I can't read this. This is too gory.
Yeah.
So it's possible to have an adult version, say in the early evening, and a children's one for school kids and all that, or family time earlier in the day. So the foundation of my quantum storytelling is a little different than Meow Wolf's. Mine was physically moving room to room. Meow Wolf combines that with the immersive art installations. I got nonlinear story forms. They got nonlinear. Uh, they call it multi-world portals. So you actually move to different worlds. So it gets very quantum. Mine was very theoretical and ethnographic. Meow Wolf is more creating a sensory thing. So with the sounds and the visual, even smells, if you want to release that
Right.
into it, interactions, a lot about the storytelling shaping the energy fields in my approach. And Meow Wolf, it's visitors activate narrative through exploration and interaction. Same in my Tamaraland, actually. So I think it's very similar. The audience, scholars, researchers, but when John Krisnak ran that play, it was very popular. It was longest running play in LA. It was very, very popular, and all age groups went to it. I went to it. But the one on the right, more for art lovers. So I'm going to stop sharing there and ask you
VR,
questions.
save the stop screen share. Mute.
So go ahead and take a notebook. Don't write in the chat. Take a pen and answer some questions. Like, given what you've heard so far, as a coach, a consultant, a marketeer, what question would you have for George and myself, since we're collaborating on this? And what would you think would be important? So what question would you have from your profession and as an artist, Jim Rogers, as an artist, and where's Sabine? Sabine, as an artist, ask an artist question, and then if you're Boje, is this outcome oriented, process oriented? Is it George and I are both extroverts, by the way, so we know what we are.
Yeah,
We're
definitely.
show people.
Yeah.
So, but what would be, could that be used to help us understand the customer base, their reactions? Could it be used to help us understand each other, and what we're doing? And Carol Gorlick, your assignment is education. We need school systems, university students, professors to bring classes to this, and we need them to pay. So, and Vanessa has a question. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I haven't been to Meow Wolf, but I have a friend who goes a lot, and I know they have the Omega Mart. So I'm wondering if you guys are thinking about having something like that, because I think that they probably generate a lot of revenue from those products that they create that are like it's like you can take home a piece of the art. So will there be that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody
definitely.
continue writing, so I don't want you to go off on Vanessa's question. You come up with your own. But let's answer that, George. George, you want to explain the textiles, the clothing, and art objects, and
Yeah, I think the fact that we have Free Spirit releasing all my designs, we want to look into a clothing line, ties like I'm wearing, and art licensing deals. Um, Loretta's talking to Dillard's, J.C. Penney's, Home Goods moved in there, and another store. That would be great. It'd be really good if another company like Free Spirit took up the clothing line, or if we sold art licensing deals for like cell phone covers or laptops. I know Free Spirit was making bags, like gym bags with my design. So from what I understand, it's like a third would be the ticket sales, and then a third and up would be merchandising. Um, Meow talks about food, but we have the food court right there, so we don't have to worry about a cafe or something like that. But yeah, we're definitely looking at that.
all right. So as you get done making notes on the questions I asked you, and come up with your own questions, that's fine. Please raise your hand. Uh, either So I'm not sure I can see everybody, but raise your hand or go into where it says raise hand. And sometimes that's in participants. Okay, Sabine, I see your hand. And then we'll do Olivia.
Good.
Sabine,
Thank you.
go
Thank
ahead.
you. I mean, I just love this whole idea of this. I mean, this is so fantastic. But I was wondering, does that include also a space where the customers can create art, like a maker's corner? where they can actually, where they can feel that they have actually created something that they then go home with?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I used to teach art classes at Alameda Elementary, and we took long pieces of paper and just did colors of the wind. So I think definitely there'd be like a part-time education art teacher, therapeutic art. Of course, I would do a little bit of it, but yeah, I can see where the kids come home with either a little canvas or a big, um, scroll of paper. So yeah, and it would all be about what is it like for you to see if you're legally blind, or what is like Debbie, how does she see? I remember a lot of kids would draw pictures of Debbie with laser beams shooting out of her eyes and curling into a rainbow of colors of the wind.
I'm also thinking, I mean, it could also be including tactile things, right? Like clay and things, for the tactile
Right,
experience. I mean, it doesn't have to be one or the other, right? I mean, or
right.
alternate perhaps.
Yeah, it could be clay that the kids can work on, and of course painting. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Very good.
yeah, that's very cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
Let's go to Olivia. Olivia, please.
Yeah, thank you. And this is exciting, George.
thank
I
you.
um I see so many things, especially with the different rooms. I was wondering if you had thought about having some sort of phone app or something. You said like people would be taking notes, but maybe like a guided journey, and perhaps with all the aspects of growth OD and the axiology and Boje and all of those things, you could almost pick your journey and have it. Well, and actually, when you were first talking, David, I was thinking about what are those things where you go and you try to solve escape rooms? I mean, not necessarily an escape room, but like a puzzle that you're putting together by going to different rooms. I
Right.
just think there's so much possibility. So, yeah, so I think my question was basically around using some sort of guidance system, like
Okay.
an app or something like.
It's definitely something to look into. I like the idea very much. I know that the Meow Wolf and some of the other places doing these kinds of things, they do have puzzles to solve, and it's somewhat like a Nintendo game where you pick out, like you see a whole wall full of stuff, and which of those items helps you understand the mystery of the event. Some of them are more about multiple worlds, and it's very surrealistic, and and some of them are about moral choices, like what do you think the moral choice is for this actor in
Hmm.
the immersive experience, or your own moral choice of what you're focusing
You
on.
could you could go with axiology. What is the choice with the highest value?
They're not here, but yeah, we could do that. We got Vuja Day here today, but I think with Vuja Day too, we could look at what kinds of people are making what kinds of choices. I mean, with such a complex set of choices, you would have a kind of an interactive experience. Let's move to Tom. Is that okay, Olivia? We'll move to Tom. Okay, go ahead, Tom.
Good morning, everyone. David, George, I love this idea. It's fantastic. A few years ago, worked on a project where we were looking at a similar idea in Branson, Missouri, to bring in some major acts. I'll call it acts, but some of this was going to be built around deceased rock and rollers like Whitney Houston and other people, and really create them and have a live immersion experience with them, even though they passed away. It was very cool technology. The whole thing kind of fell apart because of the pandemic coming, so the thing went away for the wrong reason. But It was really an interesting idea. And to Olivia's point, one of the things my friend Ernie, that's a rock and roll album cover artist, we were going to exhibit his art there. And one of the technologies was to, uh, which this is a little bit different, but to have an app that was on the phone that they could point at the artwork and it created this whole backstory. Like George could be talking, literally talking about his art and what made him created and all of the other
Right.
dynamics of that to really get people proactively involved. So I think it's a time, and millennials love it. It's very popular among millennials. It's also a place that corporations are using these type of experience to bring their people together and get them to work together. So all of the things we're working on, growth OD and all that fits into the dynamics of what they're doing. It's also a healing experience for a lot of people where they've set things up like this to do that type of work. So I think you're onto something really, really interesting here. Would you see this exhibit changing? Like, will this be a one time, all right, we got Tomorrowland and we got this and that? Or is there a rotation of, let's call it shows or experiences, I guess, that would occur over some period of time so there'd always be something new to draw people in?
Yeah, I see bringing in other shows like Van Gogh, Georgia O'Keeffe up in Santa Fe, bring her down. I noticed that the art museum, ARTE museum in Vegas has like, I don't know how many shows, 9 different things going on all at once. So I definitely see different shows coming in. And also David and I are planning to travel Colors of the Wind. One thing about the deceased thing was interesting to me, Tom, is my friend Bill Serene at Disney had an AI guy at Disney put together this little piece. It's just audio, but they talked about taking the blind runner, me, when I ran the mile in 4:28, and showing me running virtually, but also with the heart beating, and talk about resilience and
Yeah.
overcoming obstacles, and that the whole piece would be about how limitations can become creative paths. And that would be a really important lesson to teach children and adults.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's great, George. And I do think there's a lot of learning that can be created through this type of technology.
right.
And I guess I'm wondering if, you got four theaters, if one of them, well, I won't call them theaters, four experiences, and you can add all these other rooms that maybe there's just a section dedicated to children
Yeah.
as a separate thing, because I do think you could bring students in and young kids and it'd be a whole great experience for them.
Yeah. And one of my wishes is to get an endowment so that the children are free. I mean, I know the schools would pay a flat fee. David's working on that. But I think children should, there should be like one room with Colors of the Wind. By the way, in this audio thing, 1.9 billion people in this world are disabled, have some type of disability, and none of that's been tapped. Colors of the Wind could tap that entire population. And one more thing, there's a technology now where the blind can take a picture of my art and have it described on their phone, and then take that same phone and image, plug it into a braille printer, and have it raised tactily so they could see, like, for example, the sun and a ray, like in Colors of the Wind. That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. So technology has really moved. Like the people in the Cedar Valley Mall said, 5 years ago, we couldn't even do this, have done this. But it's exploded. I mean, there was 3.2 million tickets sold for Van Gogh alone at $50 a pop. So the money is there.
I've been to Van Gogh. That was a tremendous experience. It really was. And this has so much more potential.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Tom, I'm going to come back to you later when I show them the numbers and get your input on marketing because I have a marketing section coming up. Doug, Breckenridge, would you ask your questions and comments now?
Thanks, David. And George, just fantastic idea from both of you. So wonderful work.
Thank you.
From a Boje point of view, and just for everyone, remember that's the three constructs: sensory, visual, kinesthetic, auditory, temperament, introvert, extrovert, and the cognitive outcome we're in process. There's so many different things to do here. It's from David, your point of understanding, if we could somehow understand how, based on their own personal assessment, testing that in the environment and how does that connect up is a great thing. The events, as I was thinking, as you were talking through the actual concept, the sensory stuff is obvious. The visual, the kinesthetic, the auditory, making it tactile, interactive, you're always moving. What kind of sounds or lack of sounds would be, very much a test for people. Cognitive also, there'll be people that just want to go and see everything. There'll be people that want to do a process kind of step through there. The one that really struck me was the temperament, because I haven't been to Meow Wolf, but I've been to, for example, the Van Gogh one, and that tends to become much more individualistic. And so, as I was thinking about it, would there be moments where the event almost stops in time for a second and you interact with other people, because people are part of the exhibit itself, because they're there. So just thinking about, is there a chance to actually interact with people as you're interacting with the exhibit as well, and make that a little bit more guided? Other thoughts. You talked about the different types of puzzles that people could solve. So there's certainly a path or puzzle or journey as you go through this to test out through Boje, through some self-exploration. So it's not only experiencing the outer, and and once again, David, to your point, it fits with PerView, it fits with all the pillars, but how do you experience this internally and prompting people along that path? So there's all kinds of ways to do this. I think removing things will be very important. And so when George, you talked about people, that there's 1.9 billion that have some kind of challenge.
Yeah, disability.
Bring those kinds of challenges in the exhibit itself so people experience those different things. For example, when we often teach sensory, we'll have a person who's kinesthetic doing the auditory piece, and a person who's auditory doing the visual piece, and they're only allowed to be visual. That's it. You remove all the other factors. And of course, the person that's visual, do whichever one I missed, you just rotate them so that they have an opportunity to actually experience how challenging it can be in those circumstances. So there's great fits there. There's guided journeys through that, both from a Boje point of view, even an ability to test it. I would be very interested to see how people sell, when they take their assessment, and if somehow we could track how they could work their way through the I'll call it a show, the experience,
Okay.
Let me call it experience, so that they could actually test and see where they fall.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
Oh, I was going to say, let's take some more questions. Sabine, I'll get to you after Jack. I see your hand, so you're in line. Jack, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, David, and thank you, George, for this whole concept. The things that come up to me right away are, what is the value of the experience of each individual while they're in the room? In other words, what is the value added? What do they take away? I mean, do you have like a 9-year-old child who walks away and says, "Hey, Mom, now I know how to forgive my friend Buddy, who I'm so mad." In other words, where is the takeaway, and what memories do they have as they they go back into their life.
Yeah.
In whatever the genre is, the artwork, the lessons, maybe there's some lessons, you might have a young mother. So if we look at each example of the people that would be in the room, their ability to participate in the interaction of the stage of whatever it is, and then the quality of the overall experience and what their takeaway is when they leave. So these are just some ideas and some thoughts as a coach that I come up with in my piece in helping to create something that might be very high value. Any comments on that?
Thank you. I think those are wonderful ideas for the education component. And we'll get to Sabine and then to Carol. Maybe Carol, we could explore more of those educational moments where we want to have some teaching points happen, or to know if our teaching points may hit the mark and students got some value generation or got a sense of their own kinesthetic or auditory preferences, those sorts of things. George mentioned, some sort of empathy for people who need to have the wind blow to see colors, that sort of thing. So let's go ahead to Sabine, and then we'll go to Carol and go.
Carl and left the meeting.
I think that, what I am hearing though here is, I think there's a fine line, right? Because I understand that you want to have teaching moments, but, I think what has to be clear is what the goal is, and what are the proportions? How much teaching, how much entertaining? Because I think, I think the clarity about the goal, I think, is important, and the mix of the two. Because it has to be, I guess all I'm saying here, that has to be very finely calibrated and spelled out. What is the proportion of entertainment, right? I think it can be awesome to just go into a room with a lot of different beautiful works of art and colors without there being a teaching moment. You can go to a wonderful symphony and you just enjoy the sounds.
You don't want to be interrupted.
So I guess that's my point. To calibrate education and just a joyful, amazing experience.
Brief response, and then I'll go. Go ahead, George. You do
I
a
like
response.
the teaching and entertainment.
Firefly,
I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, with John Krisnak, I interviewed him and I did some writing about him as well for the Tamaraland, and that was set in Mussolini's Italy when the black shirts were taking control, and you actually get a passport saying it's 1927 and Mussolini's taking control of this mansion, and he's got a military hero there that he's keeping in seduction with art and wine and women and everything else to keep him from becoming a rival to Mussolini. But John Krisnak will tell you that people won't go to see that. It's got too much teaching in it and too much ideology. So what he does is make sure they have a high entertainment value. And you actually forget that you're in Mussolini's mansion. You forget it. And you focus on the dinner halfway through, sharing the clues, the whodunit. You get all into that. And you forget, that there's a bigger context there. But I think a lot of this is post reflection that we're talking about, not interrupting it, but you could pause. Somebody said to pause, but you could also just pull people aside for focus groups and just have reflections, or just invite them with their own apparatus to have a question to reflect. Now, what did you get from this? What was the high point for you? Is there any personal takeaway? That sort of thing. Let's go to Carol. Carol, go ahead.
Monty Miller had left the meeting.
My mind is going a mile a minute on, I can't tell you how many different levels. The first one I have to tell you is entirely personal. um, I started my life being a volunteer at Recording for the Blind and wanted to be a director of the Lighthouse for the Blind. And one of the most incredible experiences of that part of my life was when I gave out cloth to make cloth clowns, which was a recreational activity. And one day, when I was walking around, I tried to make conversation. And I said to this one person, the cloth is green. And he said to me, what is green?
Yeah.
And it's decades later, and I'm still trying to answer that question. I was speechless.
Yeah.
And some of the people in the room began to answer. And I continually wonder. So, George, you've hit me in a very deep spot.
Wow.
And I think my whole life has been around helping people to see. I have a professional background in knowledge management. So that leads me to the practical answer. I think this is unbelievably fertile for real action research. And what Sabine said hit me. When was the last time you really learned something in a classroom? I always start my classes that way, and most people say, I don't ask it that way. I say, think of the last time you learned something. And then how often is it in a classroom? Almost never. So I think your comment about teaching versus experiential learning is incredibly relevant to this conversation. So what you're looking to do, I think, is through this immersive combination of entertainment and education, is tacit education. So people walk out differently. And how to make that happen, I think, is a challenge, but one that sounds like this group is very up to exploring. And really simply, what happens, how you're in an airport now and they want you to tell about the experience in different parts of the airport?
Yeah.
And they have a button that you push. You could do that in different parts.
Yeah, keep it
And
simple.
and what you said to me, David, about education, I think the most exciting part is to start with really young children so that they're embracing this from the beginning of their education. But I also think we could learn a lot from schools that are teaching museum skills, because if you go to museums, none of them are able to just have a passive walk around the museum and look. And the University of, not the university, the Art Museum in Toledo has a particularly innovative, I think, section teaching children, and I'm sure there are others. So I would do a little bit of homework and see what they're doing.
Okay,
I,
very cool stuff. Thank you, Carol. Thank you very much. I've got some more slides, but let me ask you, and I want to get into the financials. I want to get into the marketing. Let me ask, is there any more input here? Let me ask Jim Rogers. Jim, do you see yourself wanting to exhibit like moving, vibrant flashes of lightning from your lightning connection, or mountains that start to get up and talk or something? Or is
Yeah,
this like completely foreign to you, Jim? What do you think?
well, I'm curious. It is pretty foreign, how my work would be presented, but I'm open to learning, and I actually love learning,
Yeah.
and it's hard for me to formulate questions. It's been a stimulating adventure
Okay.
you're on, and commend you for, coming up with this. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to formulate questions and
Well,
see what my place might be in it. But I am an artist. I'm a creative. I love creating, and so it might work out.
well, you have a place in Growth OD. You are one of our big projects, and well, we got your inventory of photos up on the website, and I know that Tom and other people are working with you, and we want to take it to the next level. What that next level would be, maybe you'll get some ideas from the rest of the session and jot down some questions.
Well, I need to the website needs to be worked on.
Oh yeah, send me the changes, and I'll do it.
And maybe this wouldn't be the appropriate time to discuss about that. But
Well, we can do it another event. We're on every Monday.
I like the idea of lightning flashing with Dream of the Spearman or something, going through the blue doors in my books. That's cool.
Yeah, he's got also fireworks, a lot of fireworks stuff. And
Yeah.
and then melt away some of my favorite, really. So somehow that could work into it.
all right, I'm going to go back into the slides and I'll come back out shortly. All right, let's take a look at some other things we got going. All right, so this gives you the architecture of the theater. You can see the four main theaters, one next to the other in the back, the front side with the diagonal line. That is the concession area, restrooms, there's a ticket taking booth there. And the windows need to be opened up more. Outside on the lower part, you don't see it, but there's a full food court with Chinese food, Japanese food, some of the best burritos in Las Cruces, I'm told, a couple of other things, so ice cream. So people can go out there. So let's take another look. Again, the Tamaraland, the Quantum Storytown Foundation. My contribution is the nonlinear, multi-layered narrative, if that makes any sense. But it's the idea you won't just be having one narrative. These will be deep layers. You might just peel away the top surface layer and you're looking for clues for something. But you also might have a reflective experience that's almost otherworldly. Movement, we've talked about that. They're not just observers, they become part of investigative teams, which could work with coaching teams, C-suite executives and their teams. So it could be kind of, where they do the outward thing of climbing rocks and getting people across barriers and team building. Well, this could get you some piece of that in a simulated environment. We got Colors of the Wind as a book to be the theme. That's what's really valuable about this. We don't have to go to get a patent from somebody or get permission to use their book or something like that. We got George Mendoza's turning out books left and right. And Dream of the Spirit Man is a more, it's not for children. Put it that way. That one will bring in some moral things. What is it?
Dream of the Spearman's a lot better for children than Journey of the Spearman.
Oh, okay. Journey of the Spirit Man. Okay. Journey of the Spirit Man. Ooh, that's a big journey for adults, I'll tell you. Okay. Here you see three facets of George, the painter, right on the left. In the middle, those paintings become fabrics, blankets, quilts, ties. George is wearing my new tie. It's really good, George. I needed something with the blues. And right, he's got a number of books that he's written. Each of those books could become a new theme after a few months to change it out a bit.
Yeah.
Or you could just have the flagship Colors of the Wind and then have some other rooms that are pulling in some other themes. And I think we could make some of them interactive between the books. It's possible. Here, I just pulled out some art from George, and this would be a traditional museum thing with stuff on the wall. What we're going to look at is you're actually walking into the painting. The painting is all around you, behind you, above you, on the floor, and things are moving in the painting. So if you see a spiral, that spiral would be twirling. It wouldn't be fixed and stationary like you see on the wall here. So these will be vibrant and swirling. The scenes from the book could be brought in by George's art, and layered worlds, family groups navigating quantum portals. In other words, a door or a window, or pushing a button and the whole wall transforms. So alternative realities could be shaped by the audience members as they interact. Okay, this is very managerial. I'm sorry, but I was a management professor for years. So this is called a PERT chart, programmed evaluation and review technique. So it lists tasks on the left, months across the top. So it's a 1 year thing. And you notice fundraising has to start now, and pre-construction planning and permits now. And then the grand opening happens about month 8 in our plan. And then we have to, once it opens, we actually have to have the marketing and promotion continue. We have to do hiring of staff in the probably the second or third month, start advertising. Final design specs have to be in before the construction is completed. Equipment wiring has to go in. There's just some big technical things you have to plan for. So it gives the whole project a framework and consulting of kind of a timeline, and for the first year. I'm also building one for over 10 years. So that's another thing to do. I won't dwell on this. If people have questions, I can bring it back up. So the grand opening is on the bottom, and these are all things.
Who had left the meeting?
Yeah. Anyway, management does that to people. They leave the meeting. So I'll move on. Projectors, let's get into the cost. High-end laser projectors with a long throw. They have short throw ones that are for tabletops. We're talking about long throw, expensive lenses because they're high quality, a lot of pixel strength in them. They're like 15,000 to 30,000 per projector. I'm looking into rentals and leasing because technology changes. So I haven't got that stuff done. Trying to estimate how many projectors you need. The total cost of projectors is probably upwards to 600,000. We have motion tracking. So the room will shift with the motion of the participants in some of the rooms. So you have 3D volumetric tracking, it's called. And you have a number of producers, OptiTrack, Vicon, and Rococo. And I want to bring some of their people out to see the venue, talk pricing, that sort of thing. That would have to happen within the next month or so. Approximate cost about 30,000 to 50,000 per theater system. So if there's 4-plex, that could be $200,000 if you're doing times 4. Let's see what else we got. Computers are a big investment. You got high performance computers. This is not your laptop we're talking about or your desktop. This is NVIDIA, RTX, Quadro workstations with GPUs, SSD storage, fast CPUs, very fast to keep up with the graphics that are being projected everywhere. Cost at about 5 to 10,000 per theater. So that's, up again 40,000 if you do it in all 4. Projection mapping and motion tracking software. So they start to work together. You have the Mad Mapper, the Touch Designer, Optic Track software. Rococo Studio Pro is one of the vendors. About 2,000 to 5,000, which is not terrible. but you have to coordinate the different projections so they don't have gaps in them, so people don't see a hole between the projected images. Staffing, we need probably 2 to 3 full-time technicians, more for big events. We need a venue director full-time that books local schools, universities, museums that want to bring special exhibits. They're probably going to get 60 to 90K. The technicians, they might get something at 50, but more likely 50. And you might be upwards of 1 to 200. Because these are rare people. You can't just take a college student and say, "Oh, I want you to run I want you to run 19 projectors and 4 different units and want all quality image and no breakdowns." You're going to have to pay for that. Staffing. Marketing, we're going to talk about now, is local advertising, school outreach programs, event promotions. I need a budget. I'm thinking 20 to 50. Tom might laugh at that. We'll ask him about newspapers, radio, TV, etc. Leverage local partnerships with universities and schools. Collaborate with museums for special exhibits where they can have some of their stuff. What we call pop-ups. Like a pop-up event would be either we could go there and do pop-up immersive images for their venue, or they bring some of their art to the Mesilla Valley Mall. Local artists like George, maybe Jim, maybe other artists that want to showcase different kinds of arts and see it projected. Mixed use scheduling, we can try to allocate between like 1 or 2 main theaters that's running Color of the Winds, etc., and maybe the other parts of the other. And let's stop there. So let me go ahead to Jim Rogers. Go ahead, Jim. Then I'm going to go to Tom.
I was wondering if there's a way to do a demographic study locally to see if there's a market for the ticket price. I know you mentioned $32 in Santa Fe. I know we live in a different market here.
Yeah, I think it's 16 in Santa Fe and 32 in Las Vegas, I think.
Oh, okay.
And then the Van Gogh one, somebody said that was like 90 or something. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, when I thought about it, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if people that are walking around the mall are going to pay those ticket prices to get in. If, and are we going to have to get people coming up from El Paso or something, or, But then I thought about if we can make it a nice date experience for couples, a nice experience for families to do something interactive. There's very little to do with families, that this is one thing where they could really enjoy it. And I think your average mall rat probably isn't going to afford this.
Well, one of my hopes is if we get a major endowment or corporate sponsorship, the tickets can go really low. I know we're not Alice Walton, but she's put in so much money at her Crystal Bridges that it's free to get in, but she also put up, 1.2 billion for the whole, construction and there's no ticket sales there. But, I'd like to see children go in free for sure.
Well, we could try that. We got to get the money first, George.
Right.
Should we take Jack's question, Tom, and then come back to you? We don't want to explore the market.
Yeah, that's fine.
Depth. Okay, Jack, go ahead, please.
Well, it's amazing. You've got a whole spreadsheet on, the planning and the strategy. I didn't realize, could put so much work into the whole project. Here's my thought. My thought is, have you thought about, George, having not a focus group, but like a laboratory where you have one room in one mall where you take one venue and get feedback, have people coming in, start small with just one and start seeing how people react and get feedback on different venues, whether it's your artwork or, a certain theme, and then get feedback and then build the creation through the feedback you get on a small scale first, and then build up from that so that you mitigate the risk a little bit with a big initial investment and build as you go with feedback from participants.
I think that's a great idea, especially with our tech guys. That's a great idea.
We have the upper floor, which is where the big projectors used to be, but those aren't used anymore. These projectors are down in the rooms. And so there's enough space up there to do several focus groups because it runs the whole length of the fourplex above. And yeah, maybe need some skylights. George doesn't like to be up there without some skylights or something, or simulated light. But we could, and we need an elevator. So that's expensive to have an elevator put in. But there is a space for it, and we could have.
I like Jack's idea of just maybe taking one of the theaters.
Well, theater,
it's
that's
interesting.
big. That's a big expense, a whole theater.
In the speaking industry, a lot of speakers will say, well, I went in with a certain agenda, but then when I watched the audience reacting to what I said or did, I found out that what they wanted from me was much different than what I thought they wanted. And I had to change my whole approach to my topic. In other words, just looking at the speaking industry and how audiences respond, they are they get a real quick change of what they're going to do based on an audience listenership and what they get at the pieces of the talk that they liked and didn't like. But if you start out with a small group, one room, and then start getting feedback, you can create your own rooms ongoing as you get more and more people responding to the experience.
These are great ideas. I really appreciate it. Tom, let me get some things started with Tom first, Sabine. I promised him, and then I'll come back to you. Promise. So, Tom, I need your marketing experience, your strategy, your wisdom, your glow. Put some glow into this marketing. What do we? Is this realistic? 20 to 50K is often the marketing budget's the first to go. After everything else, you got to pay your salaries, you got to pay your rent. We will have to pay lease. Like a 10-year lease agreement is what we're looking at for the theater complex. They're not going to give it to us. What do you think?
Well, I was curious.
Print media, radio, what do we do?
Well, before we go to that, I would like to get clear on, how this project is going to be funded. So George just mentioned endowment. There was a mention, I think, or I read in what you sent about trying to get donations from consumers, I guess. So I look at it as, we need to have a business plan first before I can create a marketing plan to figure out what we're trying to do and what all this stuff's going to cost. And then, we can look at all sorts of media, but I think this is something that word of mouth could be very strong. I think there's 1.1 million tourists a year that go to, where the theater's located? What's the name of the town where the theater's located?
Oh, there's in Santa Fe, Albuquerque.
No, the one where the theater is, the mall is.
We're in Las Cruces, New Mexico. We're the second largest city in New Mexico.
Yeah, well, there's about,
which ain't that large.
In my research, about 1 million tourists a year. So I think there's a natural flow of people coming in and getting a local momentum. I see this just from a marketing viewpoint. I see this being something that could create a lot of awareness through, I'll call it PR for lack of a better term, that we go out and get media focused on newspapers, TV stations locally, and then hopefully pick something up including having George, who's done thousands of speeches, who's a great
Yeah.
person to interview and get
Right.
George out there talking about his vision, his colors of the wind. I
Mhm.
think we could create a lot of, I'll call it free advertising or free promotion. And then if we can get the right sponsors lined up, they can also put some money into promoting it. So I have to think it through, David. But first we need to get agreement on what the concept is and where we're trying to go with this thing and get the plan together.
Absolutely.
Twenty to
Right.
$50,000 is not a lot of money in today's world to do much, to be brutally honest about it.
Mhm.
That's fine.
Um, but but I think the idea is how do we leverage word of mouth? How do we leverage uh, PR, get on some national media, hopefully get there eventually. But it's a unique concept. There's nothing else like it out there specifically on how George is approaching it. And I think there's value that can be leveraged in doing that.
Yeah.
So
Can I?
that's how I
Yeah.
would start thinking about it. And
I,
if Alex Walton or somebody's going to back this thing, takes it to a whole different
I
level.
think George is going to give you an immediate answer for something New Mexico, state of New Mexico is going to start
Okay,
doing.
great.
You remember
Right.
go ahead, George.
Yeah. To answer your question, Tom, we're looking at New Mexico Finance Authority has a program up to $12 million for projects like this. Okay. And being nonprofit, we can get a loan at 2.7%. The New York people are very interested in hopefully, and I'm really hoping they'll fund the full rehab. They should, because that building's been empty for 27 years.
Oh, yeah.
If they don't do it, and they don't give me a good deal because I'm nonprofit, I'm going to encourage them to do the endowment. They own 77.
Left the meeting.
They own 77 malls in the United States, from Connecticut to California, and every one of them is empty, going out of business, except the Mesilla Valley Mall. It is full with stores except the movie theater. And then I'm going to hit up all my billionaire friends that say, well, I only got 1.2 billion. I don't have any cash. I'm going to hit all them up, from Canadian to Dallas and all those people, including George Bush, that's very interested in this project. I have had correspondence with him because, Laura Bush did a beautiful book blurb on the colors of the wind. So we're looking at New Mexico Finance Authority and hopefully New York. If they don't give me a good deal on the lease and they don't do the full rehab, they need to find or do the endowment. They bought the Mesilla Valley Mall for $205 million. So they could easily take out 10, 20 million, keep their money, and give us the endowment at 4 to 7%. That's how I want to do it.
So are these the New York guys? Are they the guys that own that mall?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
great. I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
And Loretta and Alex are constantly talking to them, and they really like the idea, and they also want to do a pilot. This would be like the mother load, or the whatever you call it, the project, and then take Colors of Wind to other places in their malls that are empty and bring in children. So they're looking at it as a cultural thing, arts, but they have to come up with a deal for either the lease or the full rehab, which is about 1.6 million, or come up with an endowment. They have to do something. That's where you come in. You got to tell them what to do.
I'll tell them what to do, George.
Yeah.
But no, I'll tell you.
We do need that because we have to negotiate with these people.
Yeah.
They're going to come in high,
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I was thinking about when we were talking about this is that, the Van Gogh experience has been all over the world. Some of these things are really getting out there, and the whole
Right.
immersive industry is going to be the kind of the wave of the future.
Yep.
Plus, the malls are dying. We all know that. The half of them
Yep.
are empty, and they need to think of new ways to draw people in there and use that space.
Yep.
I think Colors of the Wind, the George Mendoza Colors of the Wind, is a beautiful concept that has so much when we talk about glow, that it is a glow of love
Mm-hmm.
and gratitude and bringing
Yep.
people in. And conceptually, to me, that provides a framework that you can take this idea all over the world. There's not a
Right.
world that wouldn't want to experience this. So I think, in my mind, we need to think very large about this. And I don't
Yes.
mean create something that's pie in the sky stuff, but just lay the foundation where this becomes the beginning of the journey. It's the first thing, and starting maybe with Jack's idea of a simple focus group and getting some perspective on that. That wouldn't take a whole lot of effort to get 20, 30 people in a room and a couple sessions
Right.
as focus group people and see, lay this out in front of them. But I think we need to do some homework on the foundation concept and get this thing into more of a plan, if you will. You got a great start on this already, David, and all the work you've done, and then we'll add to the pieces. So I'm
Yeah.
happy to do the marketing stuff, and I'm happy to help with that. But I would feel more comfortable knowing that we've got a clear plan and where we want to go, and then I'll
Right.
build a plan around that plan.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Tom. So if you want the plan, don't put it in the chat. Just send me an email because we've got a 38-page plan. So
Yeah.
with a lot more than what I
Yeah,
put in the
I read
PowerPoint.
through it. Yeah, I've read
Uh,
through it, David. So
so
thank
and,
you.
and I've revised it, so it's gone through a major revisions. That's the one you
Yeah.
saw. But if you want that, now I got Joy and Livia and Doug, and then Sabine. She had her hand up. I'm not sure where to put. Sabine, can I take Joy and then you? Would that be all right? Okay, go ahead, Joy.
Well, my head is just exploding with the excitement and the so many possibilities that there are with this. I did just look up that Las Cruces, New Mexico, has two sister cities, Lerdo, Mexico, and I guess Nyenburg, Germany, are officially sister cities to Las Cruces. So when we talked about starting small, I agree with that, but it needs to be such an art explosion that this is so memorable that we want to build more rooms and take it on the road to
Yeah.
other, even other countries. But I am excited to think about, my family went to the Icecapades every year when I was little. Now that's about 1/1000th of the immersive experience that you're talking about. But we went to the Icecapades to see the beauty and to see the costumes and to see people skating to the music. And I suppose it was a little bit expensive for my family. We didn't have the money to do that kind of thing every weekend, but it was an annual experience. And I remember wanting them to buy the program. And the program was more than the ticket price to get in, but the program was full color. And when you got home, you could look through and see the close-ups of the ballerinas skating on ice, and you could remember the scenery. I really enjoyed my family spending the money on the program.
Hmm.
And I did have a reason to look up recently. Cincinnati has a museum center, which is 3 museums in one. And I believe the ticket prices to get into the museum center is $25 for adults and $17.50 for children. And then, of course, there's veterans and seniors. There are other discounts. But once you get in, you can go to any of the 3 museums. And I know families go back, just like what we're saying. You could go to the initial room, and then you would want to go back to a different room and a different room and a different room. I just think there's so many possibilities with this. And my eyes did not glaze over at that planning spreadsheet. I like that kind of thing. I like to know the return on investment. I mean, projectors, just the installation of the art has got to be a large cost, because we're not just going to have volunteers, bringing in art and doing certain things with it. So I was very interested in that spreadsheet, the cost, and the overall plan, like what Tom was suggesting. What are the objectives? What are the goals? What are the short-term goals? What are the long-term goals? So yeah, I'll be interested in looking at the 38-page report, because I want to see how I can fit into this. I'm so excited. And Cincinnati has a lot of immersive experiences like that, where they light up art on the outside of buildings, and you can walk around and see art like that, or you can drive, because there's, it's many neighborhoods participate in that. So I'm just excited overall to see entertainment, education, and I think maybe most of all, memories. Because like I said, we looked forward to going to the ice capades, which is nothing compared to what this is. And families, I think, now look forward to going to the museum every year, or the conservatory, or the arboretum. There are certain things that families want to do, and school groups to do, and all of the special interest groups that you mentioned, people with differing abilities, things that can appeal to them. I just think this has so many opportunities for us and for you. So I'm looking forward to being part of it.
Thank you, Joy. We really appreciate that.
Wow.
That is a great message. Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Sabine and then to Olivia, and I think Doug had his hand up before. So if not, you're up again. So go ahead. Was it Sabine and then Olivia and then Doug? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, David. Well, I had the same question Tom had, about the money and where is it coming from? And also, I think there are probably other costs, right? I mean, you will want to insure this, and there are all sorts of other costs, right? Electric bills and all sorts of things, that will come up. And the second thought I have is, there isn't much to do here in Las Cruces to begin with, for visitors. I mean, unless you go hiking every day, I guess, there aren't many attractions you're competing with, either.
Right.
So I think that is a big plus, because, my mother-in-law and my husband's sister were here, and I was like, and I had to warn them, hey guys, there isn't a lot to do here, So I mean, you exhaust things very quickly. So I think this would be, a real draw for people to even come in from other places. And also, people, a destination, a reason to go to the mall. And some of them might spill over into the stores. Oh, as long as we're here, let's look at the shops. I mean, the mall will benefit hugely.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Just on the point about the financing, that is a big deal, and we're working hard on it, George and I. Now, one of the things, do you remember in COVID, coming out of COVID, they had the small business loans, and you could apply for small business loans to cover salaries, expenses, rents, things like that, equipment. They are doing that again. It's going to start in October here in New Mexico. We are first in line. We are already talking to them. Georgia's talking to them. They said that we're the people that funded the Albuquerque experience with this electric thing. But theirs was kind of like a video arcade with tabletop projectors, interactive things. It wasn't the scale or scope of what we're talking about. So they're very excited to look at Las Cruces. And so all we got to do is tweak our business plan, which I'm happy to send to everybody, and get the other pieces in there. So thank you for that. Let's go to Olivia. Olivia.
Yeah, I just had a couple of quick ideas. One is bringing in musicians, and you've probably already thought of that, but just to have, you got the food and the art immersive experience, you could probably get live music. People might volunteer just to get the exposure. And then this other thought I had was just to take the idea of having it be a transformational experience. And I think you were saying, everybody, if they came back, they just get a layer deeper, and that pulls in all the Boje and just so many things, the PerView, all that. Is I want to just throw all the components into AI and say you are the expert at transformational experience and what could we do with all this? And you've probably already done that, but those are just some thoughts.
I'm not telling. All right, who is going to be next? Doug, I said you. I thought I saw you waving before.
I did have it, but it's been covered, David, so that's okay. I won't waste the group's time.
Any comment you want to make about Fuja Day or something?
Well, no. Like I said, to Olivia's point, you know, I think the attraction, the two things that really stood out to me as I've heard the discussions there. First off, you know, leading with George, just having current artists have this kind of ability, because you know you see the Van Gogh, you see all the previous the Monets, but you don't see current artists. And so the pop up in the long term, and I'm sure you've thought of this, to get into, you know, the MoMA or something like that, just have a room there that could highlight a current artist, and all the spin-offs with all the marketing and all that, that kind of the sales of books and that come the apps that could come out of this that people could experience. Because you know, Joy, I loved your comments about escapades. I had very similar experiences as well. I don't know if you know, a younger group is going to buy a coffee table book necessarily, where they might want an app instead that they could interact with or something like that. So so that was one thing that came through. And then to Olivia's point, how do you make people want to keep coming back? So lower prices is a great thing, because you can come back and experience it in different ways. So I think that's something really to kind of pull that little string.
All right.
You come back for 2 or 3 different types of experiences and get to deeper levels of meaning. And to Olivia's point, you know, if it's an inner journey, you're using the 5 pillars. That's a fantastic way to keep getting people back.
Oh, I'm looking at that. I got about 3 slides I'm going to show you, then we'll do the gratitude checkout. And I really appreciate all the comments and interest.
Great comments.
Okay, so diverse programming is where we left off. So we want to tiered ticketing is what I think you were talking about, Doug. Standard tickets, VIP experience, group discounts, membership, senior citizens, the rest of that. Corporate rentals and team building, I thought could be a possibility. Merchandise and concessions inside for George's print things and ties, all kinds of things. Grants and sponsorships. So we have this notion here of the endowment structures. Wise Tree is a 501c3. I also have a 501c3 with Grace Dan if we need it. We got preserve the endowments principle. So they don't give us the principle. We just live off the endowment interest is what it is. Institute transparent governance in Wise Tree's board. So that's something we want to tweak. The total investment does not include construction cost or some of the other things like electricity. That was a good one, Sabine. So just without that, it's already $750 would be very minimalist, kind of like one theater. $1650 would be all 4 theaters in the concession area. The New Mexico Finance Authority is one of the big spenders in this. We don't get that. We're probably stalled. So we need that thing to kick in October to make it work. Practical application, immersive projects. In these slides that I've showed you, local partnerships, diverse programs, PerView, but also Glow, Seam, Boje, axiology, etc., educational workshops, entire project marketing, fundraising, interaction design can use PerView's language and methodology because it's got the quantum and the Tamara, etc. That is the end of the presentation. So I express my gratitude to each and every one of you. And I really appreciate the input. I've learned a lot, and we're going to take that into the revisions. Go ahead, Tom, and then you can do the gratitude as we check out.
All right, David, just one quick question. From a technology standpoint, will this, how difficult is it to change the show? In other words, if you wanted to have a kids special show in the afternoon and you wanted to have a corporate thing in the evening in some theater, whatever, is it, because like Van Gogh, they set it up and that guy's just kind of runs there for an extended, month at a time. So I don't know if it's because it's
This
complicated.
is more complicated than Van Gogh because it's got the sensory input of the movement of the audience, the interactive aspects of the audience, which Van Gogh doesn't have, at least when I went there in Paris. The other thing is with the, the technical thing to get the book Colors of the Wind, you have to have projections from multiple images. So you just can't show a painting and plop another painting here. We have to have a story arc, a storyline. That's what I was trying to emphasize with Tamara. You need an arc of a story, even if it's a non-linear story. It still needs to be an arc of some kind with multiple pathways. So that's complex. You know what I mean? We're going to need art, more art from George. We're going to need translations of the book into art experiences because that's not there yet, you know?
Okay.
So it's going to be expensive, is my answer.
Well, I'm very grateful for George Mendoza and the opportunity, and you, David, the opportunity that you're creating for us to have a major impact on the world by what we're about to proceed with here. So thank you for that, and I will hand it off to Joy.
Thank you, Tom. I'm grateful again to George. That was going to be my first thought. And I'm grateful to George and his art and his accomplishments and his, I guess, bravery, to continue doing what he does with the physical handicap of less sight than others, but he has more of a lot of other things than other people do. So I am very appreciative to be part of this group, and I will pass it on to Jack.
Thank you, Joy. I am grateful for being a part of a conceptual dialogue. I mean, the fact that we're all here talking, about a concept and all contributing in different ways to this concept is really exciting to be a part of. So I'm grateful for that. And I'll turn it over to Sabine.
Thank you. I am grateful for all the inspiration that came out of this. It just sparkles like one of Jim Rogers' fireworks images. And George, I commend you. I think this is fantastic. And how this will benefit such a range of people. I find that so impressive. So I'm grateful to be here, and I'm happy to be in a supportive role in any way I can help.
Thank you.
And I'll pass it to Paul, who we haven't not heard much from today.
Mercifully, maybe. I'm like Carol was.
You said that, not me. Okay.
But what Carol said earlier before she left, it's like OD, fire hose, tsunami. The flow of thought, ideas, and facts, and down to earth and pie in the sky that characterizes this. I'm pie in the sky. So it is very important for me to be around people with feet on the ground. And that's the great benefit of this synergy, magic word. And I'm really grateful for that something so intellectual and pie in the sky and airy fairy and out there and new agey is the only way that we're going to get to a tomorrow that's worth living in. Because the way everything goes not everything, the way so much is going currently is a downward spiral in my mind. And this is the upward spiral that must accompany that. And by effort of people doing stuff, that's how you get the upwardness that is the contrary of the tailspin that we seem to be in. So all of you, including the people who had to leave and get down to earth, and into the stars. Can we do both? We have to have our feet on the ground and we have to have our head on the clouds at the same time. Not an easy trick to pull, because a lot of people say, and I'm one, I'm happy up there in the clouds. Everybody else, you keep things together there on earth. And it's a synergy of people being together and working together and harmonizing, whereby our differences become an asset instead of the thing that blows everything up.
Thank you, Paul. Who would you like to choose? You're on mute.
Vanessa, who hasn't.
Vanessa, come out of hiding if you can.
Hi. Yeah, I'm grateful that this is a conversation I love as an artist. I love that, we're supporting an art installation that's interactive, that's so fun. And yeah, just would love to be involved in this more because it's really something that I resonate with and I have a lot of ideas. So it's really exciting to be on the leading edge of this. And I love what you're doing, George, and it's so fun to be able to step into a reality where people can step into your reality and see the world that you've created. So I love, the idea of this immersive experience and supporting you and getting your vision out there. And so that's really exciting. And I think that there's a lot we could do with the gift shop. Exit through the gift shop. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but it's like there's a lot to it. Like I think that there's a lot of fun things we can do with your patterns. And yeah, I'm excited to see how this unfolds. Then anybody else? Mom, did you go?
I did not. So thanks, sweetie. Yeah, I have to just sort of echo everyone's. I love being at the birth of things coming together, and I'm just grateful for you, George, and as people said, your bravery and talent, and for you, David, just being this champion for George that pulls us all in. So I'll keep it short because we're over time, but thank you all.
Good.
Has anybody not gone?
Jim Rogers.
Or David, maybe your gratitude.
No, I went first. Jim Rogers didn't go.
Jim, yeah.
Just simply, I'm grateful for the group and the stimulus of the conversations and thoughts and ideas, and I'm always trying to figure out how I fit in as an artist. So I think it's appropriate. So, and looks like I'll call on Doug.
Yep, I was going to say, Doug, please. You get to wrap it up, Doug. Make it good.
all the good stuff's been said. First off, thanks to George and David as being the catalyst for this. Like everyone else here, really, really excited to be at kind of, I wouldn't call it the birth, but maybe a little bit of the helping to steward this moving forward. So I'm excited to help out in any way. I'll just share an interesting observation since I get the little Boje angle. If any of you recall that session we held about a month ago, everybody was pretty much outcome oriented. So it doesn't surprise me that we all enjoyed this session because it's all dreaming. It's the big ideas. I think the challenge for us will be is how do we all pitch in and contribute on getting the details done and making it work and work together. There's a lot of area to cover here. So I would love to see George's vision come to life. So please, George, let me know any way that I can help do that.
Okay, great.
That's the goal. How do we support you? Because that's the first thing that has to get out the door.
Well, we're going to send you our business plan as it is, and invite you and Monty takes more time to reflect. So we're hoping Monty will maybe talk to us and give us some more input. I want to thank everybody here. I believe that Growth OD can generate, birth a lot of projects that involve us as human beings, as our brain power, our creative power, our artistic energies coming together. I always wanted a project like this that had art and coaching and consulting, the three merging together. So I really, really appreciate this. So I'm going to stop the recording and say goodbye.